Hello card fighters, welcome back to Vanguard Central Academy. This time around, it's kind of looking like I need to get a haircut, but we are here with tips and tricks. This is just a really basic one. So a lot of you veteran players who've been playing for a while already know the importance of memorizing your opponent's drive checks. And what I'll do is I'll try to give you guys some tips about it. I'm personally still not super great at this. I have to really try and make a really conscious effort to remember my opponent's drive checks sometimes. So memorizing drive checks is obviously really important. If you're new to card games, new to Vanguard, there is a lot of information that you can get. And information is actually a valuable thing to have. Surprise, surprise. So the fact that your opponent technically draws 3 cards a turn, or 4, kind of with stride, but they're either doing like 2 to 3 drive checks every turn towards the end of the game. And drive checks are like draws, but you get to see them, right? So that means towards the end of the game, if you've been paying attention really closely, again, not the best, but you should be able to know the majority of their hand. Like, you should be able to know 2/3 of their cards. I'm getting a lot better at knowing their drive checks, but not keeping track of them between turns is still tough for me. That's a whole nother story other than just remembering them for a turn. But there's so much information that you can get from that. You can see if they pulled a bunch of triggers. Is their hand full of shield, or is their hand full of they can't guard much? If you get good enough to see what units that they got, you might be able to figure out what they might want to do the next turn and kind of play around that. So there's so much information there in drive checks that you can take advantage of if you just memorize them. And I don't really have a trick specifically for memorizing them. There's ways I've seen, like the memory mansion, where you imagine there's a mansion and then that seems really complicated. I haven't bothered to do that. You can use mnemonics to try to remember numbers, something like that, or you can just try to remember, which is I do. And since it doesn't work all the time and it takes a lot of energy, maybe you should try to look into some of those other methods if you're really serious about learning it. Anyway, but there are some steps that you could take to get started on memorizing drive checks and trying to remember people's hands, that don't require you to know every single card or something. So you could start off, let's start off the first thing you could do is just try to remember triggers. Every time you see a trigger, just remember that trigger. Oh, okay, you got a crit trigger. Okay, you got a crit trigger. And since triggers are really impactful, it should be easier to remember them. And then you can just kind of guess what the rest of their hand is. It's probably, if it's not triggers, then it's a bunch of obviously not triggers. You wouldn't be able to know what kind of strategy they might want to go into, but you'll be able to know their kind of guarding potential. And that's also really important, because guarding is a major mechanic in the game. So remembering triggers, remembering sentinels, just some basic things to keep track of and count throughout the game. Any sort of information that you can get from your opponent is really powerful. And so I would definitely just start, if you're not used to doing this, start with just trying to remember triggers, trying to remember perfect guards, and then you can kind of work your way up and try to get grade thrown in there, and then maybe even specific units once you learn enough cards. So that's basically some small tips and tricks. Try to start with triggers and perfect guards probably, and then kind of work your way up, improving your ability to memorize your opponent's drive checks, and then analyzing what they have in their hand should help you make better plays. So something that Mason Clark from Science of Vanguard always likes to say is he tries to play to the best of his ability with as much information as he has possible, and to do that he needs to be memorizing people's drive checks. He needs to be remembering what cards are still in their hand that they didn't play from turns before. So the first step onto that road is again triggers and perfect guards. Short shout out to Mason He puts out a lot of good content. And Science of Vanguard, I know he's not the only one, but he seems to be like the figurehead of that. They have a lot of good content, a lot of tips and tricks, like 5 tips you can learn to improve Vanguard and various things. So check them out if you haven't. They put good stuff. And that's about it. Just some short tips on memorizing drive checks, kind of bringing that to attention if you're a newer player or something you haven't thought about before. And if you're a veteran player still watching this, thanks for watching the whole thing. Comment down below if you have any questions, any comments on this video, or if you have any ruling questions you'd like to suggest, you'd like me to make a video about. I'd be happy to answer and respond to any and all comments. Make sure you subscribe for more content, and if you want to help support the channel, head over to patreon.com/VCAcademy, or you can wait till the end slate pops up and click that orange P button just to help support the channel. They have some cool things too, like getting every video a week early, so that's pretty nice. Thanks again for watching. Keep on learning, keep on having fun, and I'll see you in another video.